Hi everybody, my name is Matt Reisinger with Reisinger Homes. Welcome to my video blog dedicated to building science and fine craftsmanship. I want to talk to you about a beautiful hardwood floor install we're doing today, and I've got EJ with Hardwood Designs with me today. EJ, how are you?
Good, thanks for having me.
One of the things I like about a hardwood floor is just the number of decades that a floor is going to last. And we're doing something a little unique in this house. This is a 1950s remodel we're on. This is a slab on grade construction, and we're using a mesquite floor. I've installed smaller sections, but never a whole house before. And EJ and his company are really the experts on mesquite floors. And one thing that I really like about his company is that they are the total source on this floor, from the log all the way to the job site. Tell us a little bit about that, EJ.
Yeah, we're actually a manufacturer ourselves, and so we harvest all of our mesquite. It's actually from Texas. It's about 150 miles south of here in Atascosa County. And we actually have loggers there that go in and they talk with different ranchers, they find the log that they want, they strike a deal, and then they actually pull those logs for us, and they've been working with us for a decade or so, so they know exactly the type of mesquite logs that we're looking for as far as, you know, circumference and length and what can actually be made into a mesquite floor. And so after they cut them, we'll go pick them up, and then we'll bring them back to our facilities in Bryan, where we'll then mill them into what you see here, a half-inch solid mesquite floor.
That's pretty cool. Different than the hardwoods that we've used. I've used a lot of white oak in my houses in the past. Tell us about white oak and mesquite and how they differ.
Sure. One of the main differences between mesquite and white oak is hardness and stability.
Okay.
They measure the hardness of wood. They have a rating called the Janka hardness scale, where they basically take a tiny steel ball, they compress it into the wood floor itself, and they find out how many pounds per square inch it takes to make an indention into that wood. Industry standard for hardwood is like a red oak or a white oak, and that's at about 1360 psi. Mesquite is between 2400 and 2600 psi, wow. So it's almost double the hardness of a white oak or a red oak floor. And not only that, but it's extremely stable. Most applications, when you do a solid hardwood floor, it has to be nailed in to a subfloor, whether it be pier and beam, or you build the subfloor up with 3/4 inch CDX plywood. Mesquite is so stable, you can actually glue it directly to the slab itself.
Yeah, that's what we're doing here today.
And it just doesn't move the way that most hardwoods move, and so you are able to get a good installation. You're not compromising on quality, and you can glue it directly to the slab.
Sample that wood.
Yeah, so mesquite floors typically, they're going to be shorter as far as length goes, because mesquite is really unorthodox in the way that it grows. So you typically max out at about 4, maybe 5 foot would be the longest that you get, but you'll probably average a 2.5, 3 foot length. And you can see just with mesquite, it's a red wood, it has a pinkish tint to it. But once we stain it, which we'll look at down the road, it has a lot of depth. It's very rich, and it's extremely beautiful wood.
It's got a lot of character too. Tell us what we do in the sand and finish process for these types of things.
So what we'll actually do with this, we're going to use a 2-part epoxy, and it's actually, a lot of people use putties, but we just, this is kind of our bread and butter. We worked with mesquite so long. What's good about the epoxy is it bonds to the wood itself, and it doesn't crack later on if there is any movement. And so actually it's a 2-part epoxy. It'll be colored black, and that's what makes a mesquite floor so striking.
Yeah,
it's just so beautiful. It's that black veining throughout the wood floor itself. So it's a 1/2 inch solid. A traditional wood floor is 3/4 inch solid.
Yeah, so with this 1/2 inch, we've got a little less wear layer than, let's say, a 3/4 white oak floor. How many sand and finishes do you think we'll get out of a floor like this?
You would easily get 3 to 4 sandings out of a lifetime. This is about a 1/16 inch less than you would have on a 3/4 solid.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, this floor will outlive you and I, as long as it's properly maintained.
Two other things I want to mention. One thing that I really like to do when remodeling or installing new, I like to run my hardwood floors underneath where cabinets are going, because if this floor is a 75-year floor, but we decide in 30 years that our kitchen doesn't meet today's styles, we want to be able to pull those cabinets out and rearrange and still have the flooring underneath there. So that's one thing that his company's doing. And lastly, I want to show you a sample board that the guys are pulling up in process, just to show you how well that glue is sticking down, and that notch trowel pattern, that glue really gets a great hold on this wood.
And one thing I'll add to that is that we actually bring in our own, they're basically between 75 and 100 pound weights. As we go, we'll weight them down to make sure that a board, you're getting that 80 to 90% adhesion from board to board. And so that really helps us, just not have any pockets of hollowness or anything. We make sure we weight it as we go to make sure every board is adhered to the subfloor.
Love it. EJ, let's call it quits for today. We'll come back and see you when it's time to sand and finish.
Okay, great. So now we're back. Last time we spoke, we were doing the installation portion of the installation of the Mesquite floor, and now we're actually getting to the finishing process, which is honestly probably the funnest part of the entire process. It's when we can really make the floor pop, really make it look beautiful, and you can really see and appreciate the beauty of a hardwood floor. So we did 3 passes with our drum sander. And to get the surface small, or to get the surface pristine and smooth, and the purpose of that is typically when you install a floor, you know, there's going to be some variation in the subfloor and in the wood flooring itself, so you're going to have some overwood to where the floor doesn't match perfectly from joint to joint. And so that's why you sand it on site, so you can get rid of all those imperfections and have a very traditional, very clean looking floor. So at this point in the process, we're actually applying the stain, and what we like to do is typically buff it on like this so you get a nice even coat. And tomorrow we'll be coming back and applying the first coat of urethane. We're going to be using an oil-based urethane, and we're going to do 1 coat now, and then at the end of construction, before the clients move in, we'll come back and do a final coat on site.
All right, the house, the floor is actually complete. I know it's hard to tell in the video. It's 100% covered right now. But there's a method to our madness. What we like to do is take it through that stain and first coat process, then we totally cover the floor. And if you've noticed from these videos, cabinets are not installed yet, base trim is not installed yet. All the things that are going to land on the floor, we're trying to eliminate shoe molds, scribe moldings, all those other things, and really scribe all our trim to the floor to give a real clean look. And the best way to achieve that is to have a fully finished floor and then drop our trim. So let me give you a little for example over here, and you can get a quick sneak peek on the floor. This floor has now been stained. We've got 1 coat of water-based polyurethane on there. Now we're going to cover it. It's very important for us to keep this house at a constant humidity level. We're not so concerned about keeping a perfect temperature in the house, but we want to keep a relative humidity of 40 to 60% during construction. But here's what I'm talking about. Here's a piece of 1x6 poplar we're using for the base. And you can see when that poplar goes down now, we want that poplar to go right on top of that finished floor, and then we'll nail that in. This gives us the opportunity to scribe that poplar to the floor, so if we've got any slight unevenness, we can scribe it to the floor, bring it tight. There's no need for shoe molds or scribe molds or anything like that. We also have our finished cabinets that have arrived to the job. The cabinet maker is going to start tomorrow and install those. And again, we'll be able to scribe those to the floor and eliminate those moldings on cabinets as well. So that's it for today. We're going to pick up this video. All right, everybody, it's been a few months. We finally finished the floor. We've got our final coat on this unbelievable Mesquite floor. This is a Duraseal oil urethane as our final top coat. Last time we filmed, we put 1 coat on, we covered the floor, and you can see we've got all our finished cabinets, all our finished trim in place. Everything sits right down on top of the floor, so we don't have any extra shoe molds or scribes or things like that. Really makes for a very crisp contemporary install. We're about a week away from finishing this project. Thanks for joining me, everybody, and please consider Mesquite Hardwood Floors, and definitely go sand and finish in place. That is definitely the way to go. We'll see you next time.